Hi everyone, and thank you for watching my second blog entry. Welcome. My name is Nadia Richardson, once again, in case you forgot. So this blog entry is about interviewing somebody who learned English as a second language. So I decided to interview my resident, Christian, or his real name is like Dong, but he's really cool and he's from Vietnam, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so he started learning English as a second language. So when did you start learning English?
I started since I was in first grade in Vietnam.
Oh, so you learned it in Vietnam?
Yeah, I started in Vietnam.
So when did you move to America?
So I moved to America about 3 years ago, going to high school here, and then continue going my education, until now when I'm at University of Houston.
So were you fluent in learning English when you were in Vietnam, or did you become more fluent once you moved to America?
Well, I think I became more fluent when I actually have opportunity to speak English every single day here. But I'm pretty fluent when I was pretty fluent when I was in Vietnam too.
Were your parents learning English as well, or was it just you?
Well, my parents, I think they did learn English, but yeah, they did learn in school, but it's not like they have a chance to go
in practice.
In practices like me or something like that.
So then, when you were in Vietnam, how did you learn how did you practice speaking English if your parents weren't using it?
So pretty much obviously we have English classes in official English classes in school, and then I might have some extra classes at night that also have a group of people who also study English with me, and then I just have conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I practice it.
So what area of learning English was most difficult for you?
I think the area I think it would be either the vocabulary or the listening part, the listening skill.
Comprehending.
Yeah, the comprehending of when I try to listen to native speaker, the accent sometimes is really hard to follow, and maybe sometimes they speak too fast. The listening skill is the hardest part for me.
Mm-hmm. I can relate to that because whenever I speak Spanish, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I'm almost fluent in Spanish, and so the hardest part for me is comprehending what other people say, because especially in people who are native speakers of a language, we don't realize how fast we speak until you're trying to learn a different language, and then you're listening to someone speak extremely fast, and you're whoa, slow down. But they're oh, this is the normal rate at which I speak. So I can completely relate to that. Mm-hmm. So how do you think learning English at a young age, starting in first grade, how do you think that impacted you? In your learning process, basically.
One thing is I'm very fortunate. I was very fortunate to start that early because it's easier to absorb that knowledge when you are at a young age compared to if you are an adult and you start something as hard as a new language. So it helped me a lot in becoming fluent in English and being able to communicate in English. So it gave me a very good foundation to be better at English.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's actually really interesting because we have to read textbooks for our class, and they always say in the book, it's not per se that it is kind of easier for kids to learn because they have less inhibitors.
Right.
When you're older and you're trying to learn, you get nervous because you're oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing, and then get embarrassed, and things like that kind of influence you. But younger kids, they don't really have that like sense of like nervousness or worry. They're just like, oh, I said the wrong thing. Oh, let me try again, and then they want to practice over and over again.
Yeah.
Opposed to like when you're older, you're like, oh, I said the wrong thing. I don't want to
Yeah,
embarrass
right.
myself.
They don't have the ego that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really true. So, what kind of bilingual do you think you are? Do you think you're like a balanced bilingual where you're as good at speaking Vietnamese as you are as English, or do you think that you're more so like stronger in Vietnamese and then less good at English?
I would say balance, but sometimes I feel like I'm starting to forget Vietnamese words or like some slangs that I used before, but I don't remember now because I use English so often in my life right now, and I don't have a chance to speak Vietnamese. So yeah, it is balanced right now, but it's kind of tilt over to the English side. You know?
Do you speak Vietnamese like with your parents and with your family, or?
Yeah, I speak Vietnamese with some of my friends and my family, of course.
I know that you have a sister who's also here in the States. Yeah. So do you speak English to your sister or Vietnamese to your sister?
So most of the time we speak English, but sometimes when we have to explain something that is much easier to explain in English, we just kind of speak English because it's very hard to explain what is in America in Vietnamese. Yeah, it's not the same.
So how do you feel knowing that like you're becoming more like, not to say Americanized, but like that English is becoming your primary language? Like, do you kind of feel like bad that you're like losing a part of your culture, or?
Oh, I wouldn't say I'm losing a part of my culture because I still can't speak Vietnamese, so it's not like I completely forget how to speak Vietnamese. That is bad, but I think it's a great thing that not only I don't lose my culture, but I am able to add another part of the great culture in my
Sorry.
In my portfolio. So
you just have more attributes, basically.
Yeah.
That's good, especially since you probably want to work out here. So you just said that like your main English is dominant. So your main language, like English, is like your more dominant language. I'm sorry about that. So how did your teachers in like math or science classes contribute to your second language learning? Because normally, like your second language learning is mostly influenced by like your English class or like going to like an elective where you learn English, which is kind of like what you did. So how did like math and science teachers contribute to that when you were living in Vietnam?
Oh, in Vietnam? Oh, you mean are you asking in Vietnam or here in the U.S.?
In Vietnam.
Okay, in Vietnam, I don't. So I didn't go to an international school. So like kids who go to international school, I think they teach math and science in English. I didn't go to an international school, so the math and science teachers they just teach those subjects in Vietnamese. So I don't think they contribute anything to my English learning process, but yeah.
So what aspect or feature of like Vietnamese influences English? So like when you were learning English, what were things in Vietnamese that like contributed to like helping, that you were able to like transfer over to like your English language learning?
I would say they both have very complex grammar structure and rules that you have to follow when you speak and write. So I have to study the tenses in English, just like in Vietnamese. I have to study some different kind of sentence structure that will have different meaning at different times you say it. So I think that carry over how I the way I study a new language, the way I study English grammar is kind of same as Vietnamese grammar.
Okay. Okay, and then my last question, I don't know, maybe it's my last one because these are kind of good too. So right now, in the textbook, I've been reading about avoidance. So what are things in English that you intentionally avoid because you don't feel like as strong at it? Like, is there a certain tense that you avoid speaking in, or?
I think so. I'm having English classes right now that require me to read, very ancient, like classic texts.
Oh, like older English texts?
Yeah, older English texts.
Or British literature?
Yeah. Those older English classes is, I'm not saying try to avoid, I'm trying to, it's just those type of English is not what I'm accustomed to, and it's very hard to grapple with the text because it's hard to understand what the author is trying to say there. But those are the kind of English that I'm pretty afraid of, but I'm really getting into it right now because I think it has a lot of great values that I can learn from, and
Yeah, I think that's why I keep making us read them, even though sometimes I hate literature like that. Because the older English, English is my dominant language, and even reading that, I'm like, oh, this is a lot more difficult. So I can only imagine as English as your second language trying to read older English texts, older literature, because even I struggle with it still.
Yeah.
Okay, and then this is my last one. So how do you think speakers of English have helped you to learn your second language?
My teachers here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I think they help a lot. Everything he's teaching is taught in English, so it's great. And I really like my human cit class. It's an honor English classes.
Mm-hmm.
They're a series I take. I took 2 last semester, and then I'm taking 2 right now. They dive into classic texts, maybe a little bit more modern texts later this semester, but you gonna have to read the book, you analyze the book, and then you write about what you understand about the book, and it's kind of like the whole process of learning English and getting better at English, because you only can get better in English by practicing, and they give me opportunity and incentive to practice English, and that is the best thing I have right now to improve my English.
True. All right, so I just want to say thank you first to Christian for coming to my blog and letting me interview him because, he didn't have to. And then I also want to thank you guys for watching my blog post because I know this is a little bit longer than the first ones were. So I just want to thank you guys for watching, and I hope that you were able to learn something from Christian and I. So have a great day. Thank you.